Okay, so hi everyone. This is Kenny here, and I have my colleague Alan. He is working with me in my office, and he has some experience in Java side, not much in terms of Node.js side. So I just called him to get his thoughts on how the project is, what his thoughts are about the project, and also his thoughts about the code base. Hi, Alan.
Hi again. Hi everybody. Yeah, so as Kenny said, my name is Alan, and thank you for inviting me to this call. Uh, Kenny told me about the Twindle app a couple of days ago, and I found the thought behind it to be really interesting. So I really want to get to know the code base a bit more better, and to see how in a completely new fresh idea starts off from the thought to a few lines of code to a community that is having over 1,500 followers. And it's amazing to see a code base that gets completely ripped apart and written again and improved upon its quality on a weekly basis. It's not so so I am coming from a background of Java, and so for me, I am used to seeing a monolithic kind of architecture. So, like if you take a quarter of an year, we implement projects, and then what happens is that we see less than 1% of the code base getting refreshed or refined or retuned. So you would usually find that the entire architecture of it being changed every now and then. You see small bits and pieces being changed here and there, and that too by senior people with oversight and whatnot. But this is completely new to me, and I found it quite refreshing that you can actually implement your own styles, your own vision about the code, about code quality. You can reinforce those things, and that seeing the code like coming from a Java angle, it's like so neat. I mean, like you don't need to go back and forth to understand like what the code is doing. You don't have a lot of overhead like to declare, and you don't have to stand on ceremonies to understand what the code is actually doing. So I found that really refreshing, and I know that Kiran has been pushing me towards JavaScript for a long time, but I was always interested, but never found that pull towards it. But seeing this code, it was like really wonderful.
Yeah,
So
I
once
think
again, thanks Kenny for having me in this call.
yeah, Alan. So I think what Alan meant about the code base being at least in the at the work that we do, the company has a code base that is like 20 years old, and there is a lot of code there. So
Yeah,
this kind of code is like very tiny when you look at that, as Alan would agree with me. So it
yeah,
is
but
very
it's effective. It's effective. That's the main point.
yes.
You don't have a lot of code that's just staying there because of a senior guy who wrote it long back or something like that.
Mm, mm. Yeah, since we are just starting out, we have the flexibility to change and change direction very quickly and do whatever we like to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just as an overview again, so I've talked to Alan about this that we have our Twitter and then we have our Kindle, and from there we got our Twindle. so so that is the high level overview. We are getting data from Twitter, specifically certain tweet threads, which is like so the thing is with Twitter is that we have the character limit for each tweet. So people usually write big articles in multiple tweets, and in order to read those on Twitter, it is a bit of a pain because there's a lot of distraction notifications coming here and there. So we were thinking, okay, why not like take these nuggets of wisdom and read it properly on a like a reading device without distractions. So that's how this project was born, and it's not just about the product, but it's also about the community. So we are focusing on trying to make it very much accessible to beginners who want to contribute to the open source, and along those lines is what we are creating this video on, to share Alan's perspective on how he thinks the code is, and whatever he has to discuss about this, and I will answer his questions whatever he has to ask about it.
Yeah, I hope it will be worth some everybody's while.
Yeah. So right off the bat, Alan, any questions, or do you want to jump into the code in on the website, or maybe on VS Code?
No, yeah, the thing is, I just know that that you will be the code has the capacity to publish it in either Kindle format or in PDF or EPUB or any of those formats. But how exactly does it do this? What's the overarching architecture that was like
Mhm.
on a high level view?
Okay. Yeah. So at a high level, we have the Twitter API, which
Mhm.
provides us access to get tweet data. Hmm?
Mhm.
And from that, at least in an ideal case, what would happen is we would the user would provide a Twitter thread link, and from there we would go and request the tweets data from the Twitter API. And from the API, so now we have the tweet data. Now we need to convert it into a document which the Kindle can read. So towards that, what we have done is we have created in HTML the kind of representation of the book that should be readable using HTML and CSS, and we inject this specific tweet data into these templates, and then from there we generate PDF and EPUB using certain specific libraries that are tailored to that.
Oh, okay.
Does that sound like what you asked for?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Okay, that seems. So, how so? Is it possible to show us like how it can be done or like a run on the on an IDE?
Okay. Okay. Yeah, sure. So, coming to the GitHub website, this is essentially Twindle core/Twindle. That is essentially our entire code base. And what anyone would do is they would come here into this code button, and then they can get this clone link. So we're using Git and GitHub to host our code, which is
No.
free. GitHub is free, and you can get the link from here, and I can just show you. So if I do a git clone, what happens is essentially it will, okay. So essentially it will download that entire repository into our particular computer. So rather than us downloading from the UI, it is just doing that from the command line. And if you have some experience with the VS Code, then probably you would know how to do that on VS Code. But for me, I only go the terminal route, so I'm not very much familiar with how to do it exactly on VS Code. So
Yeah, even I am partial towards the terminal side of it. I mean,
yeah,
it's a
once you
bit more
once you get
descriptive.
used to the terminal, then there is less
It
going back.
seems pretty easy. Yeah.
Yeah, if I open my folder there, okay, it's still downloading. So there is a lot of code. I mean, this evolved over time, so there is a little bit of code here. So I think, yeah, we have the folder here. Um, we'll just wait for
Yeah,
Git to
I
complete
think
the code.
we can wait for it to populate.
Yeah, so Git has cloned that entire repository. So it is essentially the same thing that you would see here. So assets, docs, etc. So that is how you would download the code. And the command line, the code, in order to run it, you would need a Node.js installed and also
Okay.
npm installed. So if
Okay.
you, so to get Node.js, you just if you're on Windows, you would just search for Node.js, and you will get the download option. You just download the recommended for most users, this one. If you're on Mac or Linux, Mac, I'm not sure. There might be some way to get the download. On Linux, you can probably, if you're on Ubuntu or something, you can just use apt-get to install it, or just Google for it, and figure out how to install Node.js with npm. So once that is installed, you should have this thing called npm. If that works, then you have everything good to go.
Okay. What's NPM? I'm not familiar with that one.
Okay, yeah,
So is it like something like Gradle
yeah.
or
So
Maven?
yeah, so you are right. So coming from your Java background, it does the work similar to Maven or Gradle in Java. What but underlying both all these three are doing the same thing. So essentially, when you're creating a particular piece of software, hmm, so there might be certain things that are, what do I say, not so trivial to solve certain problems. So for example, in
Yeah.
our case, we have the case of converting the content from Twitter into a PDF. So it is not
Okay.
trivial for us to re-implement how to create a PDF from scratch, because what that would mean is we need to understand exactly how a PDF file is created, what is the content that needs to go into it, those kind of things, as an example. So, so what in all languages, so it's not just specific to Node.js, not specific to Java. Any language would have this concept of a package manager. So what a package is something which will solve a certain problem. So for example, in the example that I mentioned right now, there might be a package to convert content into a PDF. Hmm? So that is kind of
Yeah.
so that is not like created by magic. Someone else has actually written it and enabled it to be consumed by other people. Okay. So if I look for, so if I want to say create a PDF, so I just go search for npm and then PDF generate or something like that, and I will look for some kind of a response. Okay, there is this thing called a PDF kit or PDF create a node. So essentially, someone else has written the code for this, and what we can do is we can import these specific code structure, and we can call the functions that they have mentioned in the
Mm-hmm.
documentation. If I can, yeah. So they have added some example, so we can use it like this,
Okay.
and then
Right. Okay.
whatever functions are there, we can call it as per the documentation, so that it will. So this particular code that they have written will handle all that PDF part. We don't need to worry about it. We just need to give it the content to do. Got it?
Yeah, got it. Yeah. So, so this NPM website is similar to the Gradle site, and these functionality, these are third party, like from the Java, coming from the Java world. These are like the third party libraries that publish in GitHub or other location, or in Maven or in Gradle, that which you import into the project. That's like the, you can say that like an analogy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Yeah.
And
Sorry for the deviation.
yeah, I mean, you ask questions. That's that's the right way to go about it. So npm also handles. So say for example, PDF kit, whatever they have created, they wouldn't want to, for example, write some low level functions. They might also be importing other things. So that is called the dependencies here. So what npm install will do, it is automatically fetch this code. It will also fetch all the dependency code, and it will manage all of our things and make it much easier for us to work with our project. That's
Oh,
it.
so that means that if you just type in npm I PDF kit, then npm will take care of all the dependencies and the dependency conflicts or whatever is going to be there. The version, whichever version of it is required,
Yeah,
everything npm will take care of it.
yeah. It will just download all these content and ensure that we are able to run this code exactly, this input.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
That's a big headache.
yeah.
Because
Otherwise, you have to
if
manually.
you're going to use, yeah, the manual is a bit too laborious.
Yeah, keeping versions in sync is a big problem. But this, package managers all strive to make those things simple. Okay, so that is the code base. We can we can try to run something. Let's see if it will work.
Yeah,
So
sure.
or I'll just let you drive it. So because right now we have the entire code cloned here, It's in my VS
Uh,
Code. So you can ask any questions that you have, or where do you want us to go?
I think like, can you go for a demo kind of thing?
Yeah.
And we
Okay.
should make the and
Okay.
after the demo we can maybe go take a walk through the code, like how it flows, how the control flows through the code.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. So the actual CLI application or the command line application is in Twindle dash CLI folder. So I'll just cd to
Mhm.
that. Twindle CLI. Okay. Then I will. Let me just take a look at the README if they have mentioned something. Um, okay. Uh, so since I know how this code base is working, I'll just open the source and then. So
Mhm.
I have to call this index.js. So that is the main file. So I'll just run that using Node.
Ah,
So Node src index.js. If I run it just like that, it will ask me to give some parameters. Okay, it is trying to install a Twindle library. Okay, and it's saying, okay, tweet ID is not fast. Please provide a tweet ID. Okay, I'll
okay.
get a
Wait, so
sample.
do you need to actually implement an environment variable for this, like Twintle library path?
Okay, so the thing
Oh,
about
it's
so this essentially what is happening is we are creating a sample folder to store our output PDFs or
mm,
EPUBs. So by default, when you're
mhm,
running it for the first time, this particular folder will not be existing. So if we want to, so by default, it will generate this folder for us, and then inside it, it will place the content. But if we wish
mm.
to set that to a different path, then we need to provide it in our .env file. So
Oh, okay, got it.
here we can customize the path.
Right.
Okay, so what they're saying is we need to provide a tweet ID. So let me just find a tweet. And hopefully uh, it will not break during a demo. I know we've always been on the wrong side of demos, so it just happens, right?
Yeah, that's part and parcel of the software life.
Yeah. So at
And
least in,
yeah, it never breaks during testing. It always breaks during demo. Especially when you're demoing it to the biggest or the most critical client, that's the time that the code says, "Hey, I would like to break it." Yeah. It's I don't know. It's kind of like the Murphy's law. So
yeah, what can go wrong will
it's
go
all
wrong.
part and parcel. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You
So
know, yeah, the thing that can embarrass you the most will happen. Definitely will happen. So
mm, mm,
that's how I interpret it.
yeah. Okay. So I'll come to this. I open this tweet and the address bar. I can see that the last particular number is the tweet ID. So I am
Okay.
capturing that, and then I will provide it as an argument. So dash I is the ID argument. So I run it. So it's
Mhm.
loading. Okay. So it says that the tweet is saved into that particular uh, file here. So this is the file. I'll just open the folder and open the file. Yeah. So this is essentially that thread, but it was not a thread. That is a problem.
Mm,
So only one is being shown. So this person,
mm.
Mads,
Okay.
he has only added one tweet. So it is only capturing like
Okay.
just the one tweet. If we can go ahead and find some
Mhm.
thread, maybe we can. Yeah, this guy he has a thread. Yeah. Okay, I lost it. Yeah, here. So if I try with this, let's see what happens. So at least the demo worked. Okay, it's loading. Okay. So this thread, yeah. So yeah, there are some issues, of course.
Yeah, but still, this is wonderful.
It's fetching the data from the tweet and then it's generating a PDF. All happened in a blink of an eye, right?
Does it? Yeah. Will the hyperlinks be also embedded in this?
Yeah, I think yeah, this
Like you're showing a YouTube playlist, or if there's a link to a YouTube video
yeah.
or
Let me just try
tutorials or
clicking this.
something like
I'm clicking. I clicked on that, and it is taking us.
that.
Let's see what's coming. Oh, it took us to that
Um,
specific.
it takes you to Twitter.
It took us to the specific tweet.
Okay. Got it.
So maybe we could,
Mhm.
this could be a pain point if you think about it. Do we want to open Twitter or do we want to open the actual video? What do you think?
Well, if you're clicking on the on intermediate Python in 4 hours, then that means the user is targeting to Twitter, like at least in my mind.
Hmm.
But if you're clicking on the YouTube video hyperlink, especially, maybe the user just directly wants to go to YouTube without
Yeah,
and bypass Twitter altogether. But
yeah,
that's just my point of view.
yeah. I do think so. If there's a video embedded, then I think it could open up directly in YouTube.
Yeah, yeah,
But
correct,
but
correct.
then there is a
Right,
question:
right.
is there YouTube on Kindle? There's another question.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that.
I mean, I don't know if it has YouTube. I don't know if it has a speaker either. But anyways, that is not the problem here. This could be
Yeah,
a
I think that's an open question.
yeah, this could be changed or not depending on what our requirement should be, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, but this is actually it's quite really good. I mean, I think I saw a video the other day, like wherein do you know the guy called Trevor Noah? He's doing a late night show in the US.
Okay. Not really.
So I hope that my direction does not go at all political, but I'm not even familiar with that. But I like the guy. I've read his autobiography, so I like it. So it's like he and his team in the late night show with Trevor Noah, they actually collected the tweets that were sent out by the last U.S. president,
Mhm.
and then they actually published it into a book.
Oh.
So what they did was they sorted through the tweets, and they manually sorted through the tweets. I don't know the number of it, and then they collected it and they laid it out in a book, and then they published it.
Mhm.
So that's like a couple of months of labor. Uh, right. So I think that's what essentially what we did here. I mean, what you guys did here with this app. So it's like you're compressing months of work into a click of a button. So it's like,
Yeah,
wow, is what I can say.
yeah, and I think we also have added some. I think it's very early, but I think we have added an option where we can provide a user's ID and it will fetch all the tweets from that user. So that is also in the
Okay.
pipeline.
It's really good. I mean, like, this would be a good material for many people, like across. This is like really valuable to many people.
Yeah, so essentially your
Yes,
tweets are becoming a book. That's what it is.
exactly.
Okay.
It's not just micro ideas floating around. It's like the whole. You're publishing the perspective of a person or a company or an entity in
Mm.
the form of a PDF, which somebody could read in one go and at least weigh the pros and cons of the viewpoint, which is really good.
Yeah, that's true. That makes
Well,
sense.
it's
Yeah.
it's a wonderful tool.
Okay. Um, so now we have run the code. Okay, just one
Mhm.
point I want to stress just before doing that. So here I'm able to run it because I have already done a command called npm install. Okay. So I mentioned
Yeah,
earlier about dependencies, right? So
yeah,
we are using certain dependencies, and at least for our CLI project, it is in this folder. Uh, there is this
mhm.
file called package.json. Okay, so I
Okay.
think Alan, you would be familiar with kind of a Gradle config or some kind of a build file which has all these dependency details.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
It's called build.gradle in the Gradle world.
Okay. So what Gradle does is it looks at that file and identifies what all it has to be installed, right?
Right.
Okay, the same thing in the Node.js world. It is the
Mhm.
package.json file. So when we are running, so okay, so whatever dependency we are installing, we are able to see it here. So if you look at this,
Mhm.
so we have a dependency on this thing called date functions, and it's a version 2.16.1.env
Oh,
epub gen. So this is to generate epubs, handlebars, clerk. So all of these have different use cases, which
mhm.
otherwise we would have had to manually create this entire functionality by ourselves. But in this case, we are able to leverage the
Right.
functionality. And
Mhm.
what npm install will do is, I can run it now also. So what it will do is it will look through all the dependencies here, and it will download all of that
Mhm.
and put that into this folder called a node modules. So this is a
Okay.
huge folder actually.
So the node modules would act as a local cache
Yes, that is where all our code
for
is.
these.
Exactly.
Uh, So is it in a so will the downloaded code, the third-party code, would it be in a compressed manner or like on an archive folder, or would it be stored in just like a JavaScript itself?
So actually, it is just plain old JavaScript. If I open something, you'll be able to see as JavaScript
Uh-huh.
files directly.
Oh, so if you want to see the code in those packages, you don't have to decompile or decompress it or anything.
Nothing. It's all open.
Oh, that's great.
So I
That's
think
fantastic.
the difference there is you are used to Java. Java is a statically typed language, huh? And in order
Yes.
to run the Java code, you have a compilation step, right?
Yeah.
So what
The
happens is,
JV, yeah, it converts into a .java class as .java file is converted into .class file, and all the third-party codes, whether we download it, when we download it, it's just stored as .class, which is of no use to us. So we have to go in again and then either run another decompiler plugin, or we have to actually use the Java decommand, decompile the code to understand, so that it will reverse engineer the Java class, convert the .class files into Java class, which is not exactly perfect all the time. So it's not quite actually readable. So it's a lot of work around to see what the developer intended with the code or how it should work.
yeah. So, but that
Uh,
might not be something you do day to day, right? It is only if you want to understand how they have implemented a specific feature, right?
yeah, it's like if you want to know about what the third party code is, like, or if or these are the cases when you want to or like the documentation is not proper, so you actually have to just at least dive in on how the methods are modified. At least
Mm.
some jars are good, like the code is good, there's no the code is clean and you can understand it by just reading through one of the about the starting classes. But some guys are like really mad. The documentation, the code works, but the documentation is not good, and it's a guesswork most of the time. So at those times, it's gonna all hell is gonna break loose. So yeah, at those times, it's really frustrating if when you see it's the archived or in the a, or a compressed version of the third-party code, where that you have no idea about what's going on. It's
Mm-hmm.
quite refreshing to see the actual code being stored in the local cache.
Got it. So essentially, once that compilation step is done,
Yeah,
it's not human readable.
exactly.
Okay,
It's just gibberish.
okay, got it. Yeah. So
Yeah,
in
and one more novice question. So, don't you guys ever have integers, floats, or doubles, or some primitive data types, or is it everything var var var?
yeah. So
Like the code.
yeah, I understand that. So the thing is, so like we mentioned, so Java is a statically typed language, where we are saying, so for example, if you, let me just see if I can open some code and say something about something. Uh, okay, just I'll just write something. So in JavaScript, what we do is, so let name is equal to
Yeah, okay.
Kenny. Okay. So what happens is we are not saying should this be a string or not. But in Java, I think you would be saying string name is equal to 10, right?
Mhm. Yeah, exactly.
So here in Java, what we would do is we would specify, okay, that this is the type of this variable and this cannot be changed. It has to be a string.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
but the difference in JavaScript, because it is not, it is dynamically typed. So even if I write like this,
Mhm.
then later I can say name is equal to 5 or whatever. So it will not be showing any error.
Oh, oh my God.
So you are,
But doesn't that make the debugging a little bit more difficult? Or is it like if you type in the variable name is equal to Kenny, and then it's like a gentleman's agreement that you won't lay, down in the code downstream, you won't set the name equal to 5 or 15 or something like that, or in a completely nonsensical data point.
yeah, I would say that, okay, there is an unwritten agreement that, okay, if someone has
Mhm.
called a variable called name, it would be reasonable to expect that it's a string. And also, if you initialize it with a string, it will continue to be a string. So that is like an unwritten agreement, at least in terms
Yeah.
of
Okay.
pure JavaScript. But there is
Uh-huh.
this other thing that is going on, which is called TypeScript, which is essentially a what do I call it? A superset of JavaScript, wherein we
Okay.
can say we can add types. So, for example, I can say let name, which is a string.
Mhm.
So, if I'm using the TypeScript version of the file, I would be able to
Mhm.
say that name colon string. uh,
Mhm.
and what it would mean is I cannot assign name equal to 5
Ah, okay, okay, okay.
because
So
that
is that
name,
optional? Like colon string part.
yes, this is optional. So the thing is, if you if you are assigning it to a string, by default it will assume that this will be only a string. So if you write like this in TypeScript, it will throw an error for this line.
Yeah, got it. Got it. That's nice.
Yeah, so it is like if you want to specify it, you have to. But
Mm.
if you are doing
So if you
say
want to log it, you can log it. If you don't want to,
exactly,
let it be as it is.
but if you're saying say let age, but you're not declaring it initially, then you have to specify
Mm-hmm.
it because otherwise it cannot know that it's a number or not.
Okay.
Because just let age means that let age could be anything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like while we're in school, like for every program, we'll write in the or let x is equal to 10 or x is equal to something else. Everything will like algebra. We name everything as x or n or something.
Hmm. Yeah. So, what do you think? Do you want to take a break? I think we are close to half an hour. Are we close to half an hour?
Yeah, I think we can cover just. I think so. Like I would like to cover just one more point, if it's all
Sure.
right. Like the flow, how it flows, how the control flows through the code. Like what are all the classes? For the demo purpose, which all classes got executed on a
Okay.
high level.
Yeah, got it. So, shall we stop for now? Shall we continue in like 5 minutes? We can create a new video on that as part two.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, sounds good because because Zoom only has a 40-minute limit.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
Okay.
we don't want to get like cut off in between.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Sounds good.
Okay, so I guess that's it for the part one of the series.
Cool.
Yeah, I think we can sign off right now.
Okay, so we'll come back for part two right after this break.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, then. Yeah.